Okay, great. So hi, those that made it, and welcome to this webinar with Powerful People on their environmental bill campaigning and how we can get involved with campaigning on environmental bills to get passed in Parliament. So this webinar will provide a grounding in environmental bill campaigning and how to effectively engage MPs and local councils. And Powerful People are a not-for-profit organisation campaigning for the UK's rapidly transition to 100% clean energy, and they're currently working on passing their local electricity bill to bring community energy and the benefits that that brings with it. So if you have any questions throughout the event, stick them in the chat box and we'll try to get to them at the end. And this event is being recorded, so if you couldn't make it today, then you can check it out on our YouTube channel, KCL Climate Action, later. So I'll pass over to Heidi and Steve from Powerful People.
Oh, hi, thank you very much, Andrew. Thanks very much for hosting us today. Yep, exactly as you said, it's going to give you a little bit of an overview here about our organisation, Powerful People. We're going to talk a bit about what we call bill campaigning, trying to get bills through Parliament, and then we're going to tell you about our campaign at the moment for the local electricity bill, which there's lots of things you can do to help. We really need your help, so that's going to be the real emphasis a bit later as well, and then hopefully have maybe some questions and discussion. Yep, as Andrew said, we are campaigning to accelerate the transition of the UK to 100% renewables. It is happening, but it's a slow and bumpy process, and it is not happening anywhere near fast enough. And that's from a climate perspective. There is no way that the UK is on course to meet its climate targets, its greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets. So overall, we are a climate campaigning organisation. We are trying to help stop the greatest threat humanity has ever faced, and it's very important to get the government to take action. And bill campaigning is a very effective way of making that happen. But the second thing that we want is for local communities to benefit from the transition. This is so important as well. The transition is going to be accepted or hopefully welcomed by people and therefore actually happen is if it benefits local communities. And so we fully see that happening. And indeed, our campaign for the local electricity bill would achieve both those things simultaneously. So I read with Power People 3 years ago, and the reason I did that was because my background is in parliamentary campaigning and getting bills through Parliament, which I've successfully done on a number of occasions as part of campaign teams. But at the moment, there's no big NGOs or charities in the environmental sector that do it, and I felt that it's really important that there is an organisation running these kinds of campaigns because they are just so effective, and so that's why I set up Power People. And a little bit about bill campaigning. So there's the bill there, the local electricity bill. Quite short, as you can see, although it probably will get longer as it proceeds through its parliamentary stages. All those names in italics at the end are MPs that back it. Although actually that was a while ago. There's a lot more now, which I'll tell you about in a second. Bill campaigning is writing your own suggested draft piece of legislation, then getting enough MPs to support it so that it ultimately goes through Parliament and becomes a law. Extremely effective because you can solve a specific problem, and campaigns are most effective always when they are asking for something clear and specific. You listen to things like I listen to Radio 4 each morning, and whenever a campaigner or someone representing a movement goes on there and is complaining, what the presenter always asks, quite rightly, is, what do you want? And the more specific you can be when you have that question put to you, the more effective you'll be. And so that's one of the reasons bill campaigning is so effective, because you are literally drafting the new law that you want yourself. Another thing as well is it's inspiring. It's exciting to talk about actually creating a new law. You can draw a lot of people a lot of groups and communities to under a single banner. And that's exactly what we do with our campaigns. We always call for cross-party support, and we always look for broad grassroots backing, because you need those grassroots supporters. We need grassroots support, because that's how you win. To get all those MPs to back a bill you're campaigning for, it requires lots of people to lobby their MPs. So you have to reach out to communities, to people across the country, en masse. I'm talking about thousands and thousands of people here. Got to get them involved, get them signed up, and then mobilize them, encourage them, help them to advocate, to take action, and to get their MPs signed up. I'm going to give you a couple of examples to show you that it really works. This is the first campaign I worked on. So this was for an act that introduced the weekly recycling collection that we put out. Before this happened, our domestic recycling rate was below 10% in the UK, really poor. And this is at a time when places like Austria had a domestic recycling rate of over 75%. So it's not like the technology didn't exist. We were just really backward. And the introduction of this act saw the doorstep collection be established, and fantastic result. You know, we have way over half of all domestic waste now is recycled. Still not good enough, I accept, but nonetheless a huge environmental benefit created by that campaign. Fantastic campaign run by Friends of the Earth. That's the chief executive at the front there, sort of kneeling down with a jacket. Tony Juniper, who was the chief exec, and Joan Ruddock holding the plastic bottle there at the front. She was the Labour backbench MP in 2003 who took the bill through Parliament. But it was a brilliant cross-party campaign. Lots of people helping, not just Friends of the Earth as well, lots of NGOs, lots of charities, lots of groups, all got together, pushed their MPs, got the MPs to support it in Parliament, and it went through. And each week when I put the recycling out, I like to remind myself, you know, that's how it happened. Perhaps an even more powerful example, the Climate Change Act in 2008. There's this 3-year campaign that I worked on, again led by Friends of the Earth, but a massive coalition of organisations and enormous numbers of people, tens of thousands of people, all lobbying their MPs to back the act, see it made law. And it has given the government legally binding emissions reduction targets, and the UK has reduced its emissions year on year since 2008. Now, it's going off track, unfortunately. As I said at the beginning, you know, we are unfortunately not introducing renewables and reducing our emissions fast enough. But nevertheless, over the past 12 years, the UK has closed almost all of its coal power stations as a result of that act. And that picture there, that's Hornsey 1, so one of the largest offshore wind farms in the world. The UK now has the largest offshore wind farms in the world, and that's all a result of that act going through Parliament. And I mean, the gigatons upon gigatons of emissions that have been saved because of that campaign, just phenomenally effective. There's no way of understating how effective this kind of campaigning can be. And obviously it works. So, Heidi.
Hi everyone, I'm Heidi. I'm a campaigner at Power for People. I hope you're all doing well. So I'm going to be talking about the problem that we are trying to address with the local electricity bill, and give you a bit of a background into why we think it's so important to get this bill through. So as you can see here, we talk about electricity in terms of megawatts. So a 2014 government report stated that the community energy sector could deliver 3,000 megawatts of generating capacity by 2020, and that there could be far more than that estimated 3,000 megawatts. But community energy generation stands at less than a tenth of this at the moment at 280 megawatts. To put that in perspective, that is 0.42% of the UK's total electricity generating capacity. So it's really minuscule at present, when the government projected that it wouldn't be. The same report also predicted that there'd be about 1,700 UK community energy organisations. So those are community-owned companies or cooperatives, that run localized electricity generation and supply to their local community, but they're currently less than half that amount at about 750 in 2018. And what's really important to know about community energy is that in 2019, the small number of community energy groups across England, Northern Ireland and Wales generated £4.6 million for local projects, which just shows the scale of impact community energy schemes can have. Steve, next slide, please. So why do we think this is? So in 2017, we published a report which investigated this exact issue. Firstly, we found that community energy schemes are unable to sell directly to local people. So at the moment, community energy groups predominantly supply electricity to the site on which the renewable energy is being generated, perhaps a local school, local council building, and they then supply the excess to the national grid, but they get really poor amount per unit for that. Because of that, that makes the economics of community energy schemes pretty unattractive at the moment. Usually you need a site with a lot of electricity consumption, which kind of stagnates the amount of renewable energy capacity that's being built across the country, which is, you know, something that we really need to address. The reason that these schemes are unable to sell energy directly to local people boils down to outdated energy market rules. These were initially designed when the energy system was privatized in the 1990s and dominated by large power stations. So really not fit for purpose, the way that we want the country to move in terms of renewable, localized renewable energy generation. Specifically, current energy market and licensing rules lead to local supply costs that are just insurmountable. And that's really the crux of the problem. It's insurmountable costs for local energy companies to be able to sell their electricity to local people. And we have this analogy that Steve came up with, which I think is great, and it works really well with MPs in our campaigning, which is about the costs of setting up a licensed energy supply company exceed about 1 million. And in our perspective, it's a bit like you're wanting to set up a local microbrewery, but instead of just paying the road tax for your delivery van, you would have to pay 1 million in road tax just to deliver your beer to local pubs, cafes and restaurants. So your business would simply not be viable. It would never get started. That would be a shame about local craft beer. And, you know, this analogy works well with community energy as well. So yeah, we really want to address this. I'm going to pop a little link into the chat here where you can see a bit more information on this if you would like. And Steve, back to you.
Thank you, Heidi. So the solution is to change these rules that are governing the energy market. Those rules, as Heidi said, that were established in the 1990s and to a degree made sense back then because we did only have big power stations. But they really are totally antiquated now. They are not fit for purpose because we have the potential for this huge amount of community scale renewable generation. But there's only one way to change rules like this, and that is with legislation. So we need to go to Parliament. And that's why we're having a bill campaign. We've drafted the bill that lays out the changes to the rules, to the energy market rules that need to be made. And then what that ultimately would do would mean that you and I and anyone can actually buy our electricity from a local supplier. That's what we need to create here. We need to make that the reality. Because at the moment, you and I, when we buy our electricity, we have to go to a nationally licensed utility. It is this company that operates at national scale. We want to change that. And so that's what the Local Electricity Act says and does. And what it would mean if we got it through Parliament, and just to be clear for those who are not sure, when we talk about a bill and an act, a bill is the draft. It's the wording that's going to get considered by MPs, debated on by MPs. It's going to proceed through Parliament, and if it succeeds in going through all of its various debates and votes in Parliament with MPs, and then in the Lords as well with peers, it then becomes an act. So that's the name of the new law. So it would be a Local Electricity Act if we succeed. So what would it mean? So like I say, we then have this reality where you and I and anyone, if they wanted, could buy from a local supplier. Now, by local, we're creating a scaling system here. So it might be, it could be a very small community supplier. It might be county-wide. It might be region-wide. It might be city-wide. It's going to depend, and that's fine. It'll be a flexible system that will be able to work depending on the local circumstances. I know certainly that there are places down in the southwest of England that have lots and lots of potential for solar generation. You could find lots of community companies there, but then maybe in a place like London, we might find a London-wide, or maybe different boroughs of London would have community or cooperatives that covered the whole borough or multiple boroughs. It would depend. But the key thing is we would create a situation where we could buy from a local supplier. And then what that does, and we know this from our research, we've spoken to the existing community energy groups that are struggling and that want to build more generation. So we know that it makes new community schemes, or indeed expansions to existing schemes, it makes them viable. So what they've said to us is, if we knew we could sell to local customers, we know we'd get enough revenue to be able to actually either build the generation or to build more of the generation we've already got. And so that's what's then going to see the expansion, the increase, and the realization of this potential for so much more community renewable generation. But then there's the knock-on benefits too. And this isn't a very complicated idea. I mean, if you think about it, at the moment, you pay for your electricity, and almost all of that money, that's going completely out of the local economy. It goes off to a national or multinational company. So when you're paying a local cooperative or a local community energy company in this future scenario we're trying to create, more of that money is circulating in the local economy. It's benefiting, it's going towards local jobs, but it's also going to have knock-on effects with lots of other things. These existing groups that exist that struggle, they have things like they have energy efficiency schemes, they have road traffic reduction schemes, they have schemes that try and help people in fuel poverty and make homes more efficient. You're going to get all these knock-on benefits from community energy groups, but 10 times, 20 times more, because there's just going to be so many more of them. We estimate that the effect of having 3,000 megawatts of community renewable capacity, and that's kind of the baseline of what we want to hit and what we think would actually be achieved if we got the Act through Parliament. We estimate 1.5 million tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions saved each year, and that is really, really quite significant. To give you a perspective on that, that's about the level of all domestic UK flights pre-pandemic. That amount of emissions. So really, really significant. So to succeed with this, we need to build support. So I'm going to tell you a bit more about the campaign now, and tell you about the support we've got, and then tell you about how you can help. So we've got 70 national organisations on board, very broad range. That's a national coalition, and they're all listed on our website. There's lots you'd expect, like WWF and Greenpeace and Friends of the Earth and so on. There's other trade associations, renewable energy associations, etc. The community energy organisations for the nations of the UK are on board. There's some interesting organisations as well, such as Good Energy, one of the utilities has even signed up, and we hope to see more of them. But a very broad range of support there. 66 county and local authorities. So these are the principal councils. In London, that's the London Borough Councils. So 66 of them on board, but lots more still to come on board. There's about 300, so we need more to come on board. And then outside of cities, you've got parish, town, and community councils. We've got 322 of them on board. And there are lots more. So again, if you're from or live in or know maybe your parents or friends, if they're in a more rural area and they have a parish, town, or community council, you can be asking them to ask that council to back it too. All this helps put more pressure on Parliament and the government to support the bill. And then we've got hundreds of community energy groups and other community groups backing it too, which is great. And more are coming on board all the time. And this is the final result at the moment. 258 MPs backing the bill. So that's well over a third of the House of Commons. And that's the breakdown there by party. So this is a cross-party supported campaign, as you can see. Very good broad cross-party support there. Very good cross-party basis. This is encouraging. This shows that we have a very real chance of winning this. But by no means have we won. This is a long way to go. Over a third. We're not even at half. Half would be 325. And we need well over half if we're going to succeed. That's based on my past experience. So there's a lot of work to do still. All the supportive MPs are listed on our website. So how do we win? Well, in short, we need more MPs, like I said, and so that means we need people to lobby their MP en masse, and that means you're going to need your help. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Now, people sort of say, well, how many MPs exactly do you need? And there isn't really a trigger number, although technically, if you had half the House of Commons plus one, which would be 326 MPs on board, you could technically, theoretically, win any particular vote that happened. But it doesn't really work like that. It's a bit more complicated because sometimes MPs aren't there. Some MPs might have sort of said yes, but they might peel off if one of their party whips pushes them to, and various things can happen. You need a lot more than half, essentially. So from experience, it's around 400. So we've got a long way to go. We're doing well, we've got a long way to go. We need more help. When we estimate, based on the success we've had so far, maybe within the next 12 to 18 months. It depends, but that could happen faster. It depends, If, for example, the Labour Party decided to formally back the bill as a whole party, that would accelerate that time frame. So it's hard to say, but yeah, it's looking like maybe the next 12 to 18 months. Again, assuming enough people help us take action and we get enough MP support. And can it be done? Well, yeah, I mean, of course it can be done. And I think I've already made it quite clear that, ambitious campaigns like this can be successful. We do absolutely believe that we can win this if enough people help. Heidi. Heidi, you with us?
Hi, yeah, sorry, I'm with you. Classic, didn't unmute myself. Yeah, so kind of the most basic starting point that you can participate in the campaign is writing to your local MP. Really, really important way of engaging with your political representative. It can seem quite scary, engaging with your MP. You feel like maybe you don't know what to say, but in this instance, we are here to help and guide you through the process of how to effectively and efficiently engage with your local representative. So I've had a little look. So your society is based at King's College London, and your MP is Nikki Aiken, so the City of London and Westminster. So as a society, you could write to Miss Aiken, and we could help you in writing a letter, a group letter to her, which you could email, basically encouraging her to support the bill, why you think it's important. And we would also be able to tailor, we encourage you to tailor your email to your local representative to their specific position. So she is a Conservative backbench MP, and we kind of encourage our supporters to say certain things like 113 of your colleagues support the bill, so it kind of really pushing them into where why don't you support it yet. But we have this tool that we developed on our website about how to write to your MP and tailor it, and I will put a link to that after I've finished talking. But essentially, we encourage all of our supporters to make it personalised, relevant to your local area, and we encourage you to send us the response that you get, and we can basically help you identify when it might be a bit of a fob off, because unfortunately sometimes MPs, it sounds like they're well-meaning and that they've engaged with your problem, but often actually the things that they're saying might be not actually addressing what you're asking them, and they try and make you kind of seem that they have when they haven't. And we can help you identify that in this case and how to kind of get around that. And it's a really great skill to be able to develop in terms of engaging with your MP, not just now, but in the future, and other issues that are important to you. So also you can, I assume a lot of students don't actually live in the borough of King's College London. So you can also write to your MP at your London address, and then you can also write to your family home MP if you're based in the UK. So students have a really strong position in terms of putting lots of pressure on MPs having so many addresses. Next slide, Steve. So normally at this stage in the campaign, we would be encouraging our supporters to organise surgery visits with their local MP, and we would be coordinating larger constituency public meetings across the country. But due to coronavirus, we've not been able to do that, unfortunately. But we can't lose momentum with the campaign, so we had to come up with a way around that. So since last year, we adapted to virtual engagement strategies, including coordinating what we call virtual visits. These are online meetings between groups of constituents and their MP, usually chaired by Steve, where people can call on their MP to back the bill and raise the bill's profile in Parliament. What's really great about these is, for example, if someone watching this would be interested in organising a virtual visit, we can then contact other supporters within your constituency and encourage them to join the meeting, and that creates just a strong engagement and shows your MP how serious the constituents like yourselves feel about it. So the Leeds meeting is a really great example. We had a supporter who's also a chair of a local branch of the Labour Party in Leeds, and his local Labour group were keen on getting a virtual visit set up. So he contacted all the local MPs, and with our help got 3 local constituency MPs, including Hilary Benn, who is a very prominent Labour MP, to agree to a meeting. We then invited other supporters to join, and all MPs became supportive, and we got these wonderful quotes, which are really great for social media. And yeah, it gets MPs to be more enthusiastic, not just becoming supportive, but doing more in Parliament. So Hilary Benn's been helping to get other Labour members supportive of the bill as well. So yeah, if this is something you're interested in, I'm going to drop a little link to how you can sign up for a virtual visit. There you go. And yes, we can help you on the way with doing that. And as I said, it's just a great way of developing your skills in terms of engaging with your MP in an efficient manner. And it really, really helps the campaign too. Steve, back over to you. Oh,
Thanks,
no,
Heidi.
I think it's just, no, you go, sorry.
Yeah, okay. Would you like to go, Heidi?
Yeah, I'll keep going. Okay. Why not?
Go on, you keep going. Go on.
Not quite done yet. So another approach, we also encourage you to write to your local council. This can create a sort of chain reaction, is like how we like to see it, where encouraging support of your local representative can put additional pressure on your local MP. So this is a good strategy in terms of bill campaigning. The more councils that we bring on board, the more grassroots pressure we build, and the more MPs and ministers that will start taking notice. So King's College London's local council is Westminster City Council, who are not yet supportive of the bill. And it could be a society activity to write a joint letter to the council asking them to support the bill and explaining why it's important to your members. The council has a Conservative majority, and so it could be more effective to contact the councillors of the majority party, as they have more influence over what the council supports and doesn't. Another way, you could also just target the leader and the deputy leader, as obviously they have the most sway. And then you will also have potentially a different council for your London address, and then also for your home address if you're a UK student. So again, really good, strong position in terms of being able to have lots of pressure and put lots of pressure on MPs throughout the country. I'm going to put some links in the chat box here about where you can find which councils are supportive. And now it's back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Heidi. And before I explain this particular slide, just to emphasize, we can help you in general a lot with all this. We've got good tools like Heidi's been talking about, and you can get in touch with us. We will help you, but you've got to take the action. We need you to take the action. It's not a lot of your time, but it is your time. We need you to help. And think about it this way, it is essentially minutes worth of your time, but you will be helping to stop the climate crisis. And taking action on a campaign like this is, I would put to you, the single most effective action you can take to help stop the climate crisis. Because of what I said earlier, it's asking for specific change from the government. And that's really how we are going to save the planet. Individual actions in terms of what you choose to buy and all that kind of thing you know, they are good, they're all fine, but that's not what's going to do it. This is the kind of thing that's going to do it. So we need you to help. And here's a final set of things that you can do to help. So we talk about promotion, you know, people who are really enthusiastic want to do more, and you can ask others to sign up, and that's not too hard. Just share the sign up link and tell them about this brilliant presentation that you heard Heidi and me give. We've got some really cool, funky little animations about the bill. We've got lots of great social media content on our channels. So please just push that out there. Ask your friends to sign up. Ask your family to sign up. The postman, the milkman, literally everyone you know, please. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can write to your local paper. Now, you might scoff at this or think, oh my gosh, do people still do that? But yeah, they do. They really do. Maybe not so much in big cities like London. But yeah, it's really worth writing to your local paper. And that's partly because MPs really watch what the local paper says. They monitor it. And getting in the local paper isn't so hard. A letter to the editor is relatively straightforward. And again, if you want, we can give you a hand with that. It's a good skill to develop. Now, media-wise, here's an article in the Telegraph recently appeared heralding the bill, which is great. Help shows that, you know, we really are getting praised in the right places. That's just because the Telegraph is going to get, you know, Conservative MPs will pay attention to it. But you know, if you're going to get the Telegraph, then definitely your local paper will cover it. So please do that too. So there's a good summary. Write to your MP, meet with MP, meet with your local council, and do those things to promote it. And I hope you found that interesting, and I hope you feel inspired to help. And Heidi and I would really like to answer any questions or have a discussion now, if you like.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and yeah, it's definitely quite empowering to hear how we can, you know, make change and influence the people that we've elected, basically, to try and create positive change for us. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Nina's got a question, I think. So if she wants to...
Yeah, sorry, I already got my hand up. Thank you so much to both of you for coming in and speaking to us. I'm also on the Climate Action Committee, and we will share this recording widely and educate everyone in the committee about what we can do. I think my main question initially, when hearing about how you'd like us to contact MPs, which I'm already very excited about. I'm quite a nuisance to my MP. And I would say, what kind of opposition is there? What are the main arguments against the bill? What are the main arguments that you have encountered from maybe MPs or other people that you'd like to be part of the coalition? And how do you combat those arguments?
What I recommend you do, Nina, is go onto our website, and this is to anyone who's thinking along these lines. And we've written out carefully sort of the shorthand for it on our Community Energy Revolution page. That's the name of the campaign that we're running for the bill. But then, if you want, go to the blog that is the MP briefing that we've written. And that's where you're really going to get the full answer. There are a lot of discussion points around this. I'll summarize a couple now, but that's really your source where you need to go. Before I sort of give you an actual answer, Nina, you don't need all the answers when you write to your MP. You don't actually. All you need to do is it needs to be very short and simple. You need to say, I like this campaign because I think more community energy is great. Whatever your reason. Put it in your own words, and then you simply say, please support this bill. Or if they already do, please write to the energy minister and ask that the government support this bill. Very simple. You don't need to have all the answers. Don't let that put you off lobbying your MP. The main arguments that we've heard are about the complexity of changing the rules that govern the energy system. Nuances like, oh, but hang on, you know, there's all these different costs, like, you know, the national grid, all the wires, you know, they you know, and who's going to pay? But hang on, if these smaller energy companies, if they're going to pay less for their costs, well, who's going to pay more costs? And how's that going to work? Oh, that sounds complicated. Hey, but hang on, there's like prices could go up. We don't want vulnerable customers who are poor to be paying more for their electricity. You know, oh, it's very complicated, isn't it? Oh. Now, in terms of prices going up, we have price caps And the bill will not change those. They were put in place for a good reason. The energy regulator Ofgem controls those, so that's fine. Yeah, the system's complicated, but it can be fixed. It can be improved. It can be changed. There is the energy regulator has the power to make those changes. It's given a duty in law to do so. They might need additional resources. There's about 1,200 staff at Ofgem, the energy regulator, but they may need additional resources. They may need additional expertise. The grid may need to be upgraded. All this new renewable generation we're going to have might actually cost some money because the wires, a lot of them are old. The infrastructure is a bit old. But we need to reduce our emissions. We need more renewable energy. We know this. And you think about all the heat that needs to be switched to electric, away from fossil fuels, and all the cars they're going to need to be run on renewable electricity. We need to do this. So, it's not an argument not to do it. Now, all these things and more are covered in the briefing that I mentioned. And it's a briefing for MPs, but it's for everyone. So check that out.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, and yeah, I definitely agree with Nina. We need to should share it with our members and get as many people to send their own local MPs and send the MP that you said for our uni borough as well. Yeah, it's definitely sounds like a really positive thing to do. I had a question about so I guess sort of like you said, Steve, sort of people might be questioning the feasibility of it and like how community energy could be seen as like bucking the trend and sort of less standard than the old system of energy distribution. I guess my question is how is surely with renewable energy like sort of changing the way the energy is distributed and sort of generated anyway. Surely that's quite like it's a good opportunity now to convert to a more local based energy generation. And do you have any thoughts on that sort of side of it? So like how community energy is whether it's more feasible now than it was before in the past when renewable energy was less popular and less in demand and less viable.
Yeah, the only thing really standing in the way in the UK is the rules, is these antiquated market rules that, as we said, were designed in the 1990s. They are the thing. They are the blockage. That's the problem. If there is a villain in this scenario, it's those old rules that are silly. And so, yeah, the technology is there. Obviously, things like the cost of panels and the cost of river hydro units, all that kind of stuff. That cost has been coming down incredibly. There's been really exciting drops in the cost of storage, so batteries in particular, and it's pretty likely that the cost of those things will continue to decline. But unless the rules are changed, none of it works. Another thing as well, in terms of like that, the sort of opportunity and the excitement of it all, is that the grid's actually kind of inefficient. You lose, as you might remember from your GCSE physics classes, you lose electricity the longer you lose it when it travels down a wire, something that gets converted to heat. And of course, the longer the wire, the further it travels, the more inefficient the system, the more wastage you get. So ideally, what you want in any energy system is to generate as close as possible to where the electricity is used. And that's what community energy does. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant at doing that. So, but of course, again, it's back to that villain, the rules. They're not, the rules do not recognize that benefit at the moment. They actually penalize against it. And so that's why, and it's so often the case, to fix a problem like this, you need to change the rules. And that's why I got the bill.
I guess a point that I would add to that, just in terms of how we speak about it to us, it's really a no-brainer, and it makes a lot of sense because, and I'm sure like most of your members are kind of we're interested in renewable energy, it's important to us, and so we take the time to look into viable solutions that we can be part of, and that's really makes sense to us. But with MPs, an MP for their local area will have lots of information coming at them, different issues that they need to work on, and that's why we are helping people in their constituency to be really efficient and effective and saying, look, my ip is really, really important, and you can do something quite quickly to help it help remedy the issue by this bill that we're literally bringing to you. You don't have to do any work, just put your name to it and raise the issue amongst your colleagues, and that's really beneficial. So that's why with bill campaigning, it's you kind of go into the bargaining table with a really strong position, and we want to kind of help people to utilize such a kind of what we think is a really great approach to environmental campaigning, and you can kind of be part of that, and we can help you on the road to partaking in this sort of campaigning with our bill. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to add to that.
Thanks, Heidi. Yeah, and specifically to re-emphasize, Heidi did allude to it earlier. Any reply you receive from your MP, any reply, send it to us, and then we can help you with a follow-up reply.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, I think we'll look into sort of writing a maybe open letter, and if people as well want to send individual letters as well, then that'd be great as well. And also, yeah, I was just thinking, because our university, it actually does have quite a strong sort of environmental sustainability presence. We have the sustainability team at our university, and at least as far as scope 1 and 2 emissions are concerned, they're planning on decarbonising completely by 2025, I think the target is. So I think also it might be a good opportunity to get them involved and see if they're able to sort of have some sort of organise and help campaign for it as well. And yeah, potentially, I don't know, in the future, maybe be a player in generating community energy and stuff, because I think we also have some sort of local sources of renewable energy already, some sort of solar panels and yeah, small energy generation like that as well. So yeah, I think that definitely look into that as well.
That's great, thank you.
So if nobody else has any questions, I think maybe we could start wrapping it up then.
Yeah, great. I guess just before Steve wraps up, thank you, Andrew, for being in contact with me and sorting out this session and having this discussion. It's really great to learn about students who are keen on participating in the campaign, and it's great to be able to share what we think is really important issue to be grappling with and how you can get involved. So yeah, thank you so much for working with me on getting this webinar set up, and yeah, hopefully we'll hear from you and your members in the future to help you kind of get involved further. Yeah,
definitely, and thanks for bringing this to our attention and sharing the information. It's always, yeah, it's what we're here for, campaigning for positive environmental change. So yes.
Great. Well, I think there's only one thing left for me to say, which is to just say the same thing again. Please all take action. Please sign up. Please get your friends signed up and lobby your MP.
All right then. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks for coming along, Steve and Heidi. Good to meet you, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Bye.
Andrew. Bye, everyone.